This is the return of Footy Fridays. The Premier League continues to roll on, and Manchester City continue to struggle. Only one win in their last 10. We preview their major matchup coming up this weekend as they square off in the Manchester Derby against Manchester United. Arsenal are another team that was heading in the wrong direction after their recent draw with Fulham. We preview their matchup against Everton in a major match at the Emirates. All that and more in the Premier League, but the Champions League continues as well. Major upsets from throughout the slate. We go over almost every fixture. And the Club World Cup is finally here with the draw being announced last week. We preview what's to come in the Club World Cup, and we also preview World Cup qualifying for UEFA. All that and more coming up right here on this edition of Footy Fridays. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Footy Fridays. It's been a couple of weeks since we last filmed this show. It feels good to be back. Robbie Basil here. As mentioned, here to bring you the best from the Premier League, Champions League, and the preview a couple of draws because we love doing that on this show. And you'll see that more as we go on. But let's get right into it. The Premier League, the Champions League, all that going on. And we also have some NFL talk and the college football playoffs. So I forgot to mention that in the intro, but we're doing that here today. So let's get straight into it. The Premier League was chaos last weekend, and we talked about it on the Robbie Basil show, link in the description, on Tuesday. So let's get into what to watch out for in the Premier League this weekend, and we'll start off by reading every game you can watch this Saturday. So we have Arsenal, they're taking on Everton. Wolves are facing off against Ipswich. Newcastle, who have been in the wrong direction as well, they're taking on Leicester. Liverpool are taking on Fulham. Nottingham Forest are in another debacle. They are facing Villa on that rounds up your Saturday slate. Sunday, you have Brighton against Crystal Palace, Tottenham against Southampton. Chelsea and Brentford are playing at 2 p.m. on a Sunday, which is very interesting. Same with Spurs and Southampton. And then we have the Manchester Derby at 11:30 a.m. this coming Sunday. Along with that, on Monday, we have Bournemouth against West Ham before a very interesting slate of games next week. But we'll focus on the games this week and what games should we be watching out for this weekend in the Premier League. Of course, you cannot ignore Arsenal. They have been going in the wrong direction, but this is a time for Arsenal to capitalize. They're facing a much more easier foe in Everton. I like the matchup for them much better. Bukayo Saka has been in much better form. He had a brace, I believe, in the Champions League against Monaco on Wednesday. So he's been heading in the right direction. The club has gotten some much needed momentum going into a crucial matchup against an Everton side that for the last couple of seasons, if you've watched the Premier League, they've been going in the wrong direction. I think they continue to go in the wrong direction. They're in 15th right now. I think they could possibly drop more. I think Arsenal should win this matchup. Everton, who are coming off, to their credit, a big 4-0 win against Wolves last weekend. But I think this is where they start to drop off again. I think Arsenal should be able to control possession very well, create much better chances. I love the play they've had through the wings. I think this is where we need to continue to see more outbursts in play from someone other than Bukayo Saka. Because that's been one of the main struggles for Arsenal has been creativity in other parts of the pitch. Particularly for me, it's been with Gabby Martinelli, who has not been fantastic out on the left-hand side. I mean, you saw what he did against Fulham. He almost pretty much ruined the chance for 3 points from Arsenal being offside with just a couple of minutes to go. So you need, if you're a fan of Arsenal, to continue to see more play from various pieces of the team. You know, there's still injuries from the Arsenal back line, particularly the fullback. They will start to get those players back soon if you're Arsenal, which is exactly what you were hoping for. But I think this is a big game for them, and I think they capitalize. Give me a 2-0 win to Arsenal. I like some players on Everton. Dwight McNeil is one of them, but they just do not have the star power or the quality to match up against Arsenal man to man. So I'm going to take Arsenal. I think they win this 2-0. Actually, no, Everton didn't even play last week, so Everton will be more rested. I think Arsenal win this one. Give me 2-0 to the Gunners at home. Another game that you totally should be watching out for that we didn't mention in the open is the game at 12:30. It's a game that not a lot of people would have circled on the calendar in the beginning of the year, but this matchup at the City Ground between Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa is supremely crucial to both of them. If we take a look at these teams right now, Nottingham Forest, who sit in the Europa League spot, the first Europa League spot, and fifth in the Premier League, is a spot where we didn't expect them to be at all during the season. They're in fifth. They just came off of that big win on the road against Manchester United. They made United get lost in the Nottingham Forest. But Aston Villa, who were trending in the wrong direction for a while, have gotten themselves with back-to-back back into the conversation with back-to-back wins. And that's what you need if you're a fan of not Manchester United, of Aston Villa, because Nottingham Forest have lost three of their last five, and Villa have gotten points in three of their last five, two wins and a draw with two losses. They're starting to turn it around for Aston Villa, and that's what you're hoping for. It's the battle of two very solid clubs. They're nearly identical. They're both 7-4-4 with 25 points. The only difference I see right now is that Aston Villa score more, but they also concede more. That's partially due to the tack that they currently play. But if you want players to watch out for, there's so many for me right now. But if we take a look at, let's look at the last matchup that Aston Villa actually played. They played in the Champions League on Tuesday. We'll go over this match a little bit more later. John Duran off the bench. You always have to highlight a guy like him if he's available. But looking at the last lap, you need a little bit of better play from guys like Morgan Rogers and Ollie Watkins. I'm watching out for Morgan Rogers as my player to watch out for. I think Villa caused the upset at the City Ground. Give me a 1-0 to Villa. I think they'll be able to defend much better. They've struggled in defense at times this season. I think they hold on against Nottingham Forest. Chris Wood, not impactful enough. Give me Villa 1-0. And then there's so many other good games, but you can't do this video without talking about Manchester City against Manchester United. Man City are, how do I word this nicely? Something else, aren't they? I mean, neither of these teams should be in the situation that they are in. And I think everyone as a viewer, if you've watched football for a good amount of time, you know the situation that both of these teams are in. Manchester City are in fourth. They should be, on paper, one of the best teams in the league. They have the leading goal scorer, but they've had injuries beyond belief, and that's been a big problem for them. Looking at the injuries, Rodri out for this season. John Stones is out. No Nathan Ake. No Akanji. Rico Lewis is suspended, so the depth at fullback is going to be much worse. Now, on the other side, the Manchester United have just been bad. I don't know if another way to put it. Manchester United went out and conceded the worst goal of the season early in the second half, and we're losing to Victoria Plzen, which, for those who don't know where that is, I didn't until this morning. They played, so this team, Victoria Plzen, I believe that's in the Czech Republic League. So in the Czechia League team was leading at home against Manchester United until the hour mark when Rasmus Højlund started his run of form to score a brace and win Manchester United the match, including an 88th minute winner against Victoria Plzen. For that reason, Manchester City are winning this game. They need to go out and win a game. They've only won one match in their last 10. I believe it was against Nottingham Forest. So United got lost in the Forest. City didn't. I think City come out and win this game. They need a win. This is, while a derby, a matchup that City should be able to handle. And I think they're able to handle. I know they've drawn teams like Crystal Palace who are down in the bottom four, or no, latter section of the bottom half of the Premier League. But Manchester United, I don't like their chances. Give me 2-1 Man City. I think they're going to be able to hold on. It's a home game. It's against Manchester United. I think it's just going to be controlled by Manchester City for the majority of the match. Quickly, we'll run through the predictions for the rest of the games. Wolves against Ipswich. Ipswich got really unlucky last week. They got in their own way and bottled it to Bournemouth. I think they're playing a team that's also pretty awful in Wolves. Give me a draw. I think both teams are at very similar levels, and I think at the Molineux, this is either going to be a Wolves win or a draw. I'm going to side with draw. Newcastle is going to beat Leicester City 2-0. I love the play from Alexander Isak. We know they lost Callum Wilson, but I think they'll be fine. Give me a 2-0 to Newcastle. Liverpool are top of the league and are top of the league for a good reason. They've had a ton of star quality throughout the lineup. They're taking on Fulham. I think Fulham do throw everything at them, but I think Liverpool win by 1-0. Brighton are playing Palace. Give me the Seagulls to fly high over Crystal Palace. Give me a 3-1. Southampton, I think, are going to cause a lot of problems for Tottenham, but I think Tottenham find a way to win 2-1. I think Tottenham have the better, most quality out of most of the teams in the league. I think they're top six in quality in terms of squad quality. They just haven't been able to put it all together, especially the injuries to Van de Ven and Christian Romero. So I'm going with Tottenham. Give me a brace or Solanke, 2-1. Chelsea against Brentford in a game that should put everyone to bed. Chelsea, who are playing in the Conference League, they rotated. Give me a Palmer brace, 3-1 Chelsea over the Bees. And then finally, we have Bournemouth against West Ham. I think this game is going to be terrible. I like yeah, let's go with him. Evan Nielsen. Give me a goal for Evan Nielsen in a 2-0 win for Bournemouth. The Hammers continue to struggle. A team that I really hyped up at the beginning of the year are continue to struggle. Quickly, we'll go over the Champions League games because that's one of the leagues we do follow on the show. Later on, when I'm home, we will be following many more leagues. But because there's multiple draws to go over, we have to go over the draws. By the way, part of this video will be recorded today, and part of this video, if I remember, is going to be filmed tomorrow. Unless I don't want to do the UEFA World Cup qualifying draw today. I will note that in the video if I do it or not. But let's go over the Champions League because there's a couple interesting matchups. We'll get the bad games out of the way. Dinamo Zagreb drew Celtic, which, just for reference, Dinamo Zagreb's the last team into the knockouts right now, which is really uncomfortable for some of these teams. Brest continue to make me look stupid. They went out and beat PSV 1-0. So Stade Brestois continue to kill it and or have way more points than I projected them. I projected them having like 2 points or something. They have like 10. I don't know how many points they have. Bayern beat Shakhtar Donetsk. Not surprising there. Sporting went out and lost to Club Brugge, 2-1. And the Sporting goes up 1-0 on the road, but are not able to hold it on. They concede an own goal, and then Nielsen able to grab the winner as Club Brugge get a much needed 3 points. Other matches continue. Match day 6. I'm reading the right match day, right? Yes, I am. PSG rather predictably beat Salzburg 3-0. Leverkusen. How about Bayer Leverkusen? They went out and got a big win, 1-0 against Inter Milan. And Aston Villa, who were in trouble for a majority of the match, needed a Ross Barkley 85th minute winner to eliminate RB Leipzig from knockout contention. They're on 0 points. They cannot qualify for the knockouts. RB Leipzig are done. And we'll read off the list of teams who cannot qualify. There are 4 teams right now who cannot qualify for the next round. 4 of them. We'll read off some of those teams right now. Young Boys, Slovan Bratislava, who rather predictably both sucked. But the 2 you wouldn't expect are RB Leipzig in 34th and and Bologna in 33rd. Salzburg's probably done. They have a negative 15 goal difference of 6 games, which is shockingly impressive. But teams that you could likely count out, for me, it's Red Star. They just haven't been as competitive as we would have hoped them to be. Girona have been bad, but I predicted them to be bad. Which Brest were down here. Then that would have made my prediction look way better than it did. Sturm Graz, they've been pretty awful. They're on 3 points as well. But there are some teams that we'll talk about that are still in contention but have to find a way in the end. Also, we almost forgot to talk about them. Atalanta threw so much at Real Madrid. But in the end, it's goals from Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., and Jude Bellingham as they scream, "Hey Jude," as Real Madrid win 3-2 at Atalanta, which is a big win for Real Madrid. They needed the form, but they don't need more injuries. And guess what? Well, instead of Stade Brest, guess what? It's guess what? They got another injury, and it's Mbappe, and they don't know how long he's out for. This is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. The fact that they're even in this situation is completely remarkable. It is. Like, you cannot tell me otherwise that this situation that Real Madrid are in is not remarkable. They have so many injuries. They have been completely terrible in the Champions League so far this season. And because of injuries and underperformance, they're in 20th behind teams like Club Brugge, Feyenoord, Benfica's here. I mean, look at the top eight of the Champions League right now. We haven't mentioned some of the teams yet, but Liverpool, Lille are in eighth. A Lille side that I said we're gonna be bad. Lille went out and beat Sturm Graz 3-2. Atletico Madrid beat Slovan Bratislava. Benfica and Bologna. That game sucked. Honestly, That was the game I was watching for the majority of the early session yesterday. It ended 0-0 before I went to finals. Barcelona put on a clinic and only won by 1 goal against Dortmund, which is really, really weird for Barcelona. Milan went out and beat Red Star, Feyenoord over Slavia Praha. Stuttgart put up 5 against Young Boys. Arsenal went out and won 3-0 against Monaco. Big win for Arsenal to help their Champions League hopes. And then we get to this game. Dusan Vlahovic and Weston McKennie leading the way for Juventus as they go out and beat Manchester City 2-0. The old lady going out and getting a big win, and the black and white continue their run of form to go up to 14th in the Champions League. They've only conceded 5 goals in the Champions League so far, which for where they are in the table is remarkable. Because if you look at everyone else, the only team there is still in like the 9 to 24 range that has conceded less goals that are ahead of them. There's one team, and it's Atalanta, who conceded 4. They've scored 13, conceded 4, and that is why Juventus are not one spot ahead. But Juventus, 9 goals for, have only conceded 5. Wow. And have gotten the job done and are in 14th, and they deserve to be in a knockouts position right now. But we look through the rest of the table. Liverpool are up top. They're the only team without dropping that hasn't dropped points yet. Barcelona are in second, which is really, really weird. Then we have Arsenal, Leverkusen, Aston Villa, Inter, Brest, and Lille, who are all tied on 13 points. Arsenal, of course, ahead of everyone because they've only conceded 2 goals and have a +9 goal difference. Shout out to Inter's 1 goal conceded, yet they're still in 6th. We continue down the league table. Dortmund, Bayern, Atletico Madrid, Milan, Atalanta, Juventus, Benfica, Monaco Sporting, Feyenoord, Club Brugge, Real Madrid, Celtic, Man City in 22nd, PSV, and Dinamo Zagreb wrap up the top 24. Now you're probably wondering to yourself, Robbie, who is the big team you talked about that's missing the Champions League knockouts right now? Paris Saint-Germain. PSG are not in the top 24. They've played 6 matches. They've won 2. They've drawn 1. They've lost 3. The top team in France might not make the knockouts of the UEFA Champions League. Let's look at their schedule. They opened it up with a win over Girona. They then lost to Arsenal. They drew PSV. They lost to Atletico Madrid. They lost to Bayern, and they beat Salzburg. To be fair, that is a tough schedule. But yeah, inexcusable. That's some of these games, and it doesn't get easier for Paris Saint-Germain because they go out and have to play Man City and Stuttgart still. PSG have a terrible odds to make it to the Champions League knockouts. And on top of that, it's Stuttgart away, which have caused a lot of teams problems this season. So Stuttgart, who in their own right, I don't even believe are in a knockouts position. I don't think they are. Are they in the knockouts? Stuttgart are right behind them. So Stuttgart is really I think out of all the teams left, I think Stuttgart is the only one that can give PSG fits um, that are below them that can jump man's Patty's PSG. Um, but this should not be a situation that PSG should really even be in. Understand that if you're a football fan, because PSG have all these talented players still. They may not have Mbappe, they may have lost him on a free, but it's still PSG. How does this happen? I don't understand it. Do you understand it? I don't understand it. But it's simply remarkable that PSG are even in this situation because they shouldn't be. They're too good to be in this spot. I'll say it again. PSG are too good to be in this position. They are. Like it or not, PSG should not be 25th. It's inexcusable that they are 25th. I'm done being mad about PSG. Who's next? Oh, right. Club World Cup draw. The Club World Cup draw happened last week, and um, yeah, it was a very interesting draw. Let's go over the draw. We have all 32 teams. Let's go over the format. It is like a legit World Cup. Ain't no single elimination knockout round garbage. Here is the pots. We'll go over them again. Pot one is sorry. Man City, Real Madrid, Bayern, PSG, Flamengo, Palmeiras, River Plate, and Fluminense. Pot two, Chelsea, Dortmund, Inter, Porto, Atletico Madrid, Benfica, Juventus, and Red Bull Salzburg. Pot three is Al Hilal, Ulsan, Hyundai, Al Ali, Wydad Casablanca, Monterrey, Leon, Boca Juniors, and Botafogo. And pot four is the Urawa Red Diamonds, Al Ain, Tunis, the Mamelodi Sundowns, Pachuca, the Seattle Sounders, Inter Miami, and Auckland City, which sets up our groups. And we will begin with Group A because I'm going to go off on some of these groups. Group A is Palmeiras, Porto, Al Ahly, and Inter Miami. Now, people are saying Inter Miami has an easy schedule, and to be fair, they got one of the easiest pot one teams, but they got the hardest, like one of the hardest pot two teams because Porto's not an easy ask. And Al Ahly, I think, could cause a lot of problems. Granted, the easiest one is like, honestly, I don't even know. Probably like Ulsan or whatever. But Jesus Christ, like how, like this draw is nuts. Um, if I had to predict the group right now, I think the team that would win this group is Porto over Palmeiras. I don't think Inter Miami get out of this group still. I think this Palmeiras team, and when we look at them pound for pound against Inter Miami, I like the Palmeiras forwards better. Yes, Inter Miami have Messi, but they're playing against real physical Brazilian teams. I think that's where Palmeiras will have the advantage over most of the teams in this draw. Group B is PSG, Atletico Madrid, Botafogo, and Seattle Sounders. For reference, this is PSG of France, Atletico Madrid, which is Spain, Botafogo of Brazil, and the Seattle Sounders of the USA. By the way, we'll go back over to Group A, tell you where all these teams are from. Palmeiras is Brazil, Porto is Portugal, Al Ali from Egypt, and Inter Miami from the USA. Back to Group B, the Sounders got screwed. They're not scoring a goal. Botafogo, I think it'd cause a little bit of problems for Atletico Madrid, but the Europeans are going to destroy this group. Um, the only team I'd be worried about is PSG because I don't know who they're even going to put on the field, but who the hell knows? I would say PSG and Atletico Madrid go out through comfortably out of this group. Group C, Bayern Munich from Germany, Auckland City from, I believe this is New Zealand. Yeah, it's a semi-professional team from New Zealand, sure. Boca Juniors from Argentina and Benfica of Portugal. Auckland City are going to concede the most goals in this tournament. Prove me wrong. The sleeper is Boca Juniors, obviously. I think they could go through ahead of Benfica. Bayern's winning this group, but Boca against Benfica, I think will be a phenomenal match. I want to see how the physicality and the more home field advantage-ish type of feel it will be for Boca because they're on the same hemisphere, on the Western Hemisphere, and Porto's coming from the other side of the world. So I think Boca Juniors can cause a lot of problems for Benfica. Honestly, I don't know who wins this group. All we know is that Auckland City are not scoring and they're going to concede like 30. So strap in because if you want to talk about the team that'll have the worst defense in this tournament without looking through the film, Auckland City, I think, would be my best pick for that. Group D, we have Flamengo from Brazil, Tunis from Tunisia, Chelsea from England, and Lyon from Mexico. This is Chelsea's group to lose. Tunis and Lyon aren't bad, and neither is Flamengo. But Chelsea being the hardest pot two team, they've been in great form this season. Tunis from Tunisia, they're not bad. They did just win the Tunisian league. Leon from Mexico, they had a horrible Apertura season. They finished 11th. I would say they would be bottom right now of this group, with Tunis in third, then Flamengo and Chelsea. If I had to predict it all, but Chelsea, this kind of feels like their conference league schedule, to be honest, because they got all bad teams, or the lower ranked teams in the pot. So good draw for Chelsea. They should be totally fine. Group E of another interesting one, and I'll explain why in a second. We have River Plate from Argentina, the Urawa Red Diamonds from Japan, Monterrey from Mexico, and Inter Milan from Italy. This is Inter and River Plate's group to lose. Monterrey should not be able to compete with this River Plate team. River Plate are one of the top clubs in South America. They did win the Argentinian league last year. They play at the Monumental. We know what their fans are like, and we know how they could bring it on the pitch. Inter Milan, they're one of the best clubs in the world. They have dominated in the Champions League. They've been great this year. I'd say they would win this group. And then River Plate, I think, would be second, followed by Monterrey. Urawa Red Diamonds, I don't know a lot about them, but the Japanese clubs usually don't mess around. And Monterrey, the Mexicans know how to play physical. They know how to play in difficult environments. They'll have more of a home field advantage. So I'll see where it will be interesting to see for the United States and the Mexican teams how much home field advantage actually plays a part of this. But I would say Inter and River Plate would right now would be out of this group. Group F, we have Fluminense of Brazil, Borussia Dortmund of Germany, Ulsan Hyundai from South Korea, and the Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa. This another group that has two teams that shouldn't lose a game other than to each other. That is for Fluminense and Borussia Dortmund. Ulsan Hyundai I think, are doing all right. I mean, the South Korean teams. Like if you're talking about teams from the bigger countries, they usually don't mess around. Like, they're facing against the South Korean champions, which is no joke. And then if you have a team like the Mamelodi Sundowns, who are the champions of South Africa, one of the best leagues in Africa, it's a group of mainly champions. But they don't go up. I don't think they match up very well against a team like Fluminense. I don't think that they match up very well with a team like Borussia Dortmund. So I would say Dortmund would win this group with the squad they have right now. I think the team that's the sleeper is probably the Mamelodi Sundowns because no one knows who they are. Same with, to be fair, Ulsan Hyundai is like the same way. But I would say Fluminense and then probably the Mamelodi Sundowns and then Ulsan. But that's just my prediction right now. There's still a long way to go. We still got 6 months till the tournament, 7 months to the tournament. I don't even know at this point. Um, Group G, we got Manchester City of England, Wydad Casablanca of Morocco, Al Ain from the United Arab Emirates, and Juventus from Italy. Do I even need to explain what's going to happen in this group? I think Juventus wins this group. I don't know if Rodri would play in this, and Manchester City are in complete shambles. But if I had to predict this right now, I think Juventus would win the group, Man City second. Wydad Casablanca is not bad, the team from Morocco, but they're not a Man City or Juventus level. Same with Al Ain. And then Group H is Real Madrid from Spain, Al Hilal from Saudi Arabia, Pachuca from Mexico, and Red Bull Salzburg from Austria. Al Hilal, I think, is going to jump Salzburg. I think Salzburg will finish third. Al Hilal are, I think, no joke. Pachuca isn't either. Like I said, the Mexican teams will have that more home field advantage, but they played a terrible Apertura season. They finished 16th in the Apertura. So I think Pachuca I think they could cause problems, but I think they'll finish bottom. Then Salzburg. I have Al Hilal right now finishing in second. So Real Madrid's walking the group, though. We already knew that. But those are my early predictions. Club World Cup set for 2025. It is going to be an absolute blast, and I can't wait. I don't know if I'll be at the event. I don't know what I'm going to be doing for that yet, but listen, it's going to be a blast, and it's going to be so much fun. Real quick, we'll go over the NFL for this weekend, and then we'll wrap this up. Um, and like I said, I don't know if I'll show the UEFA draw or not, but we'll find out soon. Rams Niners, we're not talking about it. So let's go over your Sunday games. What should we be watching out for on Sunday? There's not a lot in the early session. Sleeper game, I want to see how the Browns defense matches up against Kansas City. There's a game that I even want to talk about. The Jets and Giants are both going to probably lose because I mean, we got a tank bowl in on Sunday with the Jets and the Jaguars. Terrible game. I'm not going to be watching that. But if you want all the games to watch out for, they are all later in the day. And the first one we're going to be talking about today is the Bucks and the Chargers. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself, Robbie, there are three better games on Sunday. Why are we talking about the Bucks and the Chargers? Well, there's a lot on the line for both of them. The Bucks, who sit at 7-6, have a chance to really put themselves in legitimate conversation to win the NFC South, like I predicted at the beginning of the season. If you look at the NFC South standings, the Bucks are on top right now, and the Falcons are right behind at 6-7. So they need to go out and win a game like this in order to stay ahead of the Falcons at the top of the division. The Falcons, of course, are facing the Las Vegas Raiders, a game that the Falcons should win. But if the Falcons lose and the Bucks win, how big would that type of result be for not just the Buccaneers, but for the rest of the NFC South in general? Because that could wrap up the division with 3 or 4 games to go. That's major if you're a Tampa Bay. If you win and the Falcons lose with 3 games to go, you have basically wrapped up this division for yourself already. But make no mistake, the Falcons still have an easy game against the Giants right afterwards. And I don't really remember who the Bucks play next, but for them, I think the logic will be 1 game at a time. I have the Bucks getting the upset over the Chargers. Listen, the Chargers have been great, but I don't know if Ladd McConkey is going to be playing or not. The Chargers offense has done way better than I thought they were going to. I didn't know what this offense was going to do under under Harbaugh and company. But they've really proved me wrong. They really proved me wrong. And they're showing it. They're showing why that people really should not be underestimating them. They're 8-5. And not only are they 8-5, they're in a division where multiple teams have over 8 wins, which I was not expecting at the beginning of the season. But big weekend, I think, for both of them, but I think the Bucks take it over the Los Angeles Chargers. This is where the Chargers like to start to bottle things. But the 3 games everyone wants to talk about: Bills Lions, the Battle of Pennsylvania, and Green Bay Seattle. We'll start off with Bills Lions. What a game this is going to be at Ford Field. How unlucky is Buffalo? They went out and put up 42 points and lost a football game. Let me say that again. They put up 42 points. Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns by himself, and they lost a football game. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. I think they bounce back. This is where the Lions lose a football game. Big day for Josh Allen. He needs a big day in order to compete with the Detroit Lions and the level they're currently at. The Lions, who may have performed some black magic last week, go into this game with needing a win themselves to continue to be up top of the NFC. I don't think they get it here. Bills got unlucky this week. I think their luck will change. Give me Buffalo. I think Josh Allen's going to go off again to really cement himself in the NFL MVP conversation. And not only that, but the weapons that Josh Allen has been able to use have played much better than we thought they would. Look at the players he has to use and compare him to some of these other teams. Amari Cooper, Khalil Shakir, Hollins, Ty Johnson's his 4th leading receiver from this game is a freaking running back Ty Johnson, who got cut by the Jets. Understand that. He doesn't have Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. He doesn't have a Tyreek Hill. He doesn't have a Amon-Ra St. Brown. He doesn't have a top receiver on his team. And yet they find a way. That's been the theme for Buffalo this year. They have all this talent, and yet they find a way in the end. It's miraculous. It's absolutely miraculous. And on top of it all, they're going to be able to cement themselves with a big win against one of those top receivers. I think Buffalo comes out and wins this game. Next up, because we're taking way too long as per usual, the not the Seattle Seahawks, talking about the Steelers. They're taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in a game that the Eagles need to win as well. The Steelers and the Eagles both have had remarkable years, a combined record of 22-5 set to square off for the Battle of Pennsylvania in a game I wish I can commentate on here on Give 'em 5. The impact, mainly for Pittsburgh, is insane. Let's look at the AFC North. So much has gone wrong in this division this year. If the Steelers win and somehow Baltimore loses, the Steelers would have the division wrapped up already. Pittsburgh, who at the beginning of the year, we were all questioning if the Steelers were legit with Russell Wilson or Justin Fields starting. They're legit. Oh yeah, they're legit. And they're proving it and they're showing off why. They're 10-3. They've done everything right. They're 2 games ahead of the Ravens. If they win, they'll probably stay 2 games ahead of the Ravens. If they lose this, because the Ravens are not losing to the Giants, it'll be a 1-game gap with 3 games to go. And not only that, but these two play each other in a week. On Saturday the 21st. On the day we're possibly commentating college football playoff games, the Ravens are playing the Steelers. And then the Ravens have to play the Texans, and then they finish it off against the Cleveland Browns. So not only is this game big for the Steelers' sake, because if they lose and then lose to Baltimore, they will be tied with 2 games to go. And not only who won the first game out of these two? I don't even remember. Who won the first matchup? The Steelers did by 2 points. Okay, so if the Steelers win the next 2 games, they're through. They will be safe into the playoffs, winning the AFC North with 2 games to go, which would be insanity for Pittsburgh. I have the Eagles winning this game, though. I think Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown will figure out their connection. Give me over 145 yards. I know a random number, but I think you'll get that for A.J. Brown. That connection's going to be there. Trust me on that. Give me the Eagles to fly high over the Steel City in a major win another major win for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then the late game, Seattle against Green Bay. Listen, this Green Bay group is another one that's absolutely no joke. Both of these teams aren't, and they're not for good reason. It's the team that's 3rd in the NFC North at 9-5 against the divisional leader of the NFC West at 8-5. Sorry, the Packers are 9-4. The Seahawks are 8-5. I like the way these two match up, though. It's at Lumen Field. It's a must-win game for the Seahawks to continue their lead over the NFC West, and I think they get it. An upset at Lumen. And I think it's a big day for not just DK Metcalf or whoever is going to be healthy in the receiving core. But you know a guy who's been really, really good for them this year? And this is where he's going to cement how good he truly is, has been Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's been great. He got hurt, he came back, and has been exceptional for this group. And I think he continues that. I'm projecting over 110 yards for JSN and a big win for the Seattle Seahawks. That is my prediction for that game. Also, real quick, there's one college football game this week. Army-Navy. What are my predictions for that game? A lot of runs, not a lot of passes. Traditional for this type of game. But I'm going with the group that just won the American Conference. Go Army, beat Navy, Black Knights win. 20-10 is my final score prediction. So with all that going on, that will be the end of today's Footy Fridays video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like what you see, hit the like button down below and subscribe. Make sure to turn on post notifications and follow Give 'em 5 for more updates on future broadcasts. For now, I'm Robbie Basil saying so long. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, everyone.